So I came across the call through my older sister, Hadil. One day she had come and told us that Imam al-Mahdi had appeared. And from my background, I had believed in Imam al-Mahdi, and I knew that at some point he will arrive. But at that time, there were many false claimants who would appear every now and then and say that they are from Imam Mahdi. So I hadn't taken that claim so seriously at that time. But with time, and as I was going through this journey with Hadil and seeing, obviously listening to her and her presenting the proofs of the da'wah to us, I was beginning to see more and more the truth in this call. And I went on a personal spiritual journey where God guided me to also see the truth of the call. So after I had learned about the call from my sister, I was learning about the proofs that she was sharing with us. For example, about the will, and how there was the whole event of the tragedy of Thursday, which I learned about for the first time, and it really shocked me. So I was studying this and learning about this, and at the same time, certain signs and things were taking place in my life and on my journey, starting with a dream that I had. And I was a person who wasn't really it wasn't a normal thing for me to see visions. And it was a dream where I saw Imam Mahdi. So it was a dream about Imam Mahdi, and I saw myself as a believer in Imam Mahdi at that time, even though I hadn't believed yet. So that was something very interesting for me, and I took it as a sign. And as I went on and I had more and more conversations with Hadil, and I learned about the Ahl al-Bayt, and I was also seeing what was happening on the ground in Egypt with the revolution and the idea of the supremacy of God manifesting and taking place there. Because at that time I was seeing how the idea of elections and choosing a leader after the revolution was a complete failure. So I was seeing exactly what the Imam and what Abu Sadiq were calling for. I was seeing that on the ground happening in front of me. I was just becoming closer to God and learning, and I felt that I hadn't known God before, that I was just seeing a complete new understanding of religion and of God that it just captivated me. It drew me in, and as I was becoming more and more spiritual and learning more and more, I had come to a point where I was reading one of the supplications of the Ahl al-Bayt. It was called Du'a Kumail. It's actually a supplication of a companion of Imam Ali. And after I read that, it was so clear to me. I hadn't read anything like this before, and it made sense to me because it was only relevant in the da'wah. Like, it was only relevant because of the fact that I knew there was an imam that was alive. So it wasn't just a supplication that I was reading. And then I decided to make an istikhara. It's a type of, I had already knew in my heart that this is true, and I had decided to pledge my allegiance, but I had prayed a prayer of istikhara that you can do, and if you see a good dream, it's a sign that it's goodness, and if you see a bad dream, it's a sign that it's bad. If you don't see anything, it's still, it doesn't negate the fact that it's good. So I did that, and the next day I just felt completely at peace, and I felt that this is absolutely the truth. And I had then given my pledge with my sister and her husband at that time, and I joined the community. I was visiting them before, but then after I believed, I was introduced to the group of Ansar who were gathered in Egypt in the school that Abu Sadiq had set up at that time. Getting to know Abu Sadiq and seeing him back in Egypt before we knew who he was, you will always hear this sentence from everyone or any person who met Abu Sadiq at that time, is that they had never met a person or a human being like this before in their life. Like it was just so, I hadn't seen someone with his morals and manners, and it's not just morals and manners, it's a lot deeper. For me, as I was saying, like I was learning about the Ahl al-Bayt and I was reading their biographies, and for me Abu Sadiq was the living embodiment of these stories that I was reading. He was literally embodying that and practicing that. He was a walking example of that. Other than the fact, of course, that how he was taking care of everyone, even though he didn't have to, and how he was bearing the responsibility of people he never met before, he didn't know, and he didn't have any obligation to do so. So there are so many things I can say about Abu Sadiq's essence and nature and who he was, even before we knew his or some of his truth. You didn't find that anywhere with any of the so-called scholars or sheikhs or leaders or any of those people. You know, it was definitely Abu Sadiq was he was literally one of his kind, one of a kind in that sense. It's very difficult to give justice to the way Abu Sadiq is and to describe him in words, but after we knew who he was and learning a bit more about his truth, it came as no surprise, because he had always been like that. I had never met people like this in my life, and I knew at that time that this is the path that I'm choosing, and these are the people that I want to be with.